Welcome back to another daily devotion. I'm Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Monday, January 16th of 2023. And we have made it to the 11th chapter of the book of Romans. Hopefully now we can chapter 11 is a tough chapter too. 9, 10, 11 are all tough chapters, but I like 11 better because I think in 11 all of a sudden you start to understand what's been going on. 10 somewhat helped explain things. 9, I think, confuses us a lot. And of course, as I've been talking the last few days, I think that's where people that are more of the Calvinist and Reformed love 9. If they're paying attention, I think in 10 and 11, they're going to start realizing the fallacy of their ways. Here, at the end of 10, we're going to pick up at 11, but we ended 10, remember, with verse 21 of chapter 10, where he's quoting, then Isaiah is saying about God, that God has said this. But of Israel, he says, all day long I have held up my hands to a disobedient and contrary people. And as I said the other day, and I'm going to reiterate, if in fact you are created for destruction and you are disobedient, you aren't disobedient if you are if you are not following the law. You're doing exactly what you were created for. You are not a contrary. You're not contrary to your creation. You're not disobedient to your creation. So the mere fact that those words are there, to me, it's illogical that we would describe that Paul would describe that God would inspire that those words would say that the people were disobedient. They're doing exactly what God created them for. That's not disobedient in any way, shape, or form. But to backtrack, I find in those words, but of Israel, he says, all day long I have held out my hands to a disobedient and contrary people. He wants them to take that grace. I see a lot of carryover to Jesus' lament over Jerusalem, which you find in both Luke and Matthew. And here's Matthew's version of the lament over Jerusalem. And let's listen to that and decide what we're thinking about this. Remember, these are Jesus' words. These are red letter. You got a red letter Bible? These are red. This is Matthew 23, verses 37 to 39. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, killing the prophets and stoning those who are sent to you. How often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you would not. Behold, your house is forsaken and desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. All right. He's holding out his hands to all of them. He wants to gather them all under his wings as a hen gathers her chicks from the elements, the rain and what have you, the storm or what have you, or danger. But yet at the end he says, blessed is he who comes in the name, or excuse me, for I tell you, you will not see me again. But until you say this, blessed is he, who comes in the name of the Lord. There is an out. There's a way. He hasn't turned his back on them completely. Rather, they have turned their back on him. If you find yourself isolated from God, it's you who's done the isolating. All right? It's not God. God calls all. Enough of that for today. I'd probably come back to it before I get done. What am I saying? Let's look at Romans chapter 11, verses 1 to 10, shall we? All right. Israel rejection is not final. That ought to tell you something. All right. I ask then, has God rejected his people? By no means. I myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham, a member of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not rejected his people whom he foreknew. Do you not know that the scripture says of Elijah how he pleads with God against Israel? Lord, they have killed thy prophets. They have demolished thy altars, and I alone am left, and they seek my life. But what is God's reply to him? I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. But if it is by grace, there is no longer on the basis of works. Otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. What then? Israel failed to obtain what it sought. The elect obtained it, but the rest were hardened. As it is written, God gave them a spirit of stupor, eyes that should not see and ears that should not hear, down to this very day. And David says, let their table become a snare and a trap, a pitfall and a retribution for them. Let their eyes be darkened so that they cannot see, and bend their backs forever. Okay, I'll confess that where God is saying here, that some of them are hardened, but we're going to get to that in a couple days, okay? And that's going to fall apart. You can't use that no more come Wednesday, okay? Um, I'll concede it to you for today and tomorrow. Wednesday, it's going to fall apart. You're going to lose that one. But again, where it says God has not rejected his people whom he foreknew, who does God foreknow? The Israelite people, the Gentiles. God knows everyone. God knows your heart. God knows my heart. God knows everyone's heart. To say God does not know, say that God did not foreknew everyone, would say that God's not omnipotent or omnipresent. Either one. God knows everyone. He is omnipotent. To say that God is not omnipotent, there's a word for that. It's called heresy. Okay? Don't be going there. God has pleaded with Israel. Okay? Just as Jesus was lamenting over Jerusalem. Jerusalem was standing in there for the Jewish people, all right? The Jewish nation, all right? Not Jews, but for the Jewish nation. There's a difference, all right? And he's kept himself. There are some that have not fallen away. There's still some of the Jewish people came with Paul. Not the majority by any means, but some did. Some are still converting today. There are the Jews for Jesus, and there's the Messianic Jews. Both movements are actively proselytizing all over the world. But Jews for Jesus, especially in Israel. And then when we were in Israel 3 years ago, we got back already, unfortunately, by 3 years ago from today, but just last couple days though. At any rate, I digress. But you do see that. You do see Jews for Jesus over there. And I have listened to some lectures by some Messianic Jews. And it's interesting stuff. It really is. But at any rate, don't feel that God has cut off everyone. There is hardening going on here, but there's a reason for that. And again, we're going to get to that in a couple of days. So I'm going to have to leave you hanging on that one. It's a cliffhanger, as they say in the old days in the shows. Come back. Same bat time, same bat station. We'll see you all tomorrow. I hope. If you do enjoy these, if you gain something from these devotions, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you around. Make a comment if you like, but please be kind. Don't hurt Roy's tender feelings. All right. Have a blessed day, and as I like to say, be a blessing to someone today. And please come back tomorrow. We'd love to have you. All right. Take care. God bless.